It's supposed to be bulletproof. That new truck is to carry that whiskey around. Anyway, we got a call from Beth McGarry, and it's a year since her dad, Larry, whom I knew very well, passed away. So, Beth, I know you miss him an awful lot. He'd be 80 years old. He would be today. So I knew Larry well. All the McGarrys, Jack McGarry, who sang the national anthem at the parade for so many years. But anyway, fond memories, an 80th birthday to Larry McGarry, and that's from your daughter, Beth. Also, I have, a few years ago, there was a wonderful lady went on my trip to Ireland, and her name was Patricia Priscell. You know, we've had so many people go on these trips. It's hard to remember, but I remember this lovely lady because she was a regular listener to this program, and she just passed away. She's 91 years old. What a wonderful person. I remember her well from the tour. Anyway, she passed away. I want you to consult the paper for her funeral arrangements. She's going to be at St. Angela's. I think it is this Tuesday. Look it up anyway. Her name is Patricia Priscell. So many of the people through the years that have gone on these trips with me, you know, they pass away, and I feel like I lose something, or lose a friend when I get the news that they pass away. Margaret, welcome to the program. Margaret Lynch.
Thanks, Jerry. Always great to be here.
Great to have you with us. We always have a lot to talk about, the Irish American Archives. You know, I was on that board of the American Archives with your mom and with your dad.
Sure were, yes, and you emceed our Walks of Life dinner for many years. Yes, you had big
You put me on the year that John Cochran was one of the honorees. So I had a great opportunity to make fun of him. Dan Cochran.
Okay, yes, he was always a great one for making fun.
Dan is a wonderful person. But
right.
you have the Walks of Life, which is your major fundraiser every year. This is what sustains your organization, the Walks of Life, and of course donations also, because you are a 501c3 organization. But when is the event coming up?
It's coming up. We shifted, we used to do it in February for a long time, but during one of those COVID years, we shifted to May, and we've done it in May ever since, because people seem to like it's still being light outside when it's over, and they like to look out and not see snow coming down during the event out those windows there, windows on the river. So we're doing it May 16th. It's a Thursday night always, and we don't have we are working on our 5 honorees now. I can't announce them today yet, but it'll be soon, and we'll be sending stuff out about it, and but it's something we look forward to every year.
The main thing is we want people to start buying the tables right now.
Oh, we start thinking about it because we've got we'll have some great honorees, and tables and tickets are always something that we need.
You know, but Mario, people love that event, and I tell you, I got to be careful the way I say this. You don't. I think you have a little bit of music in the beginning to just. Or do you even?
Yeah, sometimes, but we don't always. But it's kind of straightly focused on these stories of the honorees,
and the stories of the honorees. Correct.
Yeah,
and I find it just a very wonderful event to go there, and it does raise the money for the archives.
And you hear from people who have accomplished something in their walk of life, but also given back to the community in some kind of way. Tom Scanlon, our the board member we miss so much, used to always say, we're not just honoring people who did their job, but they have to be people who did more than their job, that went above and beyond. You know, but it is focused on different walks of life, different ways in which people of Irish heritage have impacted our community. You know, we might have a businessman or a lawyer, but then we might have a social worker or a teacher, educator, you know, priest or a nun every once in a while. So, you know, we've got an array of people.
And the date again is?
May 16th, Thursday, May 16th. It's at Windows on the River, and the individual tickets are $75 a ticket. We'll put it on sale pretty soon. I haven't, it's not up yet, but yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things I say, The archives does multiple things. It just doesn't do this. It needs the money to operate, which of course organizations have to have. But you get it engaged in other things. For instance, like the Johnny Kilbane event, which our Mayo Society was a big contributor
A big part of, yes, and
Yeah.
I never forget you doing your show that
Yeah, we
day.
did a program right from
at
Battery
the,
Park. Yeah.
Yes, from Battery Park, and all the people, and Marianne Megan was there taking pictures.
Yeah.
We got beautiful pictures of everybody on your show that day.
But the archives, though, is a huge important part of this community because it's kind of the engine that keeps everything going. If we didn't have the archives, there's no historical.
We're trying, yeah.
There's no historical record
Right.
of what went on. So
Right.
the archives is preserving that, which I think we need to preserve the history, definitely.
But,
So one of the things you're getting involved in is the Irish Town Bend project.
right, yes, huge
So talk
project
about
coming
that.
up, yeah. They're going to be, there's been a groundswell of movement towards having this large-scale park along the bend of the river across from Merwin's Wharf. It's been called Irish Town Bend. That was a navigation term for the people who were bringing those big ore boats up and down the river, so they knew which bend it was. That was Irish Town Bend, and we've been doing a lot of research to figure out how to create a historical component to the park, so that it's going to be a great opportunity for outdoor recreation, bike riding, etc. But we want to also be able to tell the story of the Irish in Cleveland through some pathways through the park that will sort of commemorate the people that actually lived there, starting in the 1850s and on into 1910s. There was a huge Irish presence on that bend of the river, which was why it was called Irish Town. Irish
So
Town Bend.
here's the thing, Mark. The state and the park system is funding, I'd like to call it the infrastructure part, which is making the hill suitable
Or
to
stable.
make a park
Right,
out of it.
yes.
But
Yeah.
the actual Irish part of it, we in
have
the
to-
community are pretty much
we have to come up
responsible.
and contribute to, yes.
Like benches, statues, all that kind
Right,
of stuff has
yeah.
to be provided by the Irish.
Yeah.
Now, there's some talk, I don't know how far into it you are, of moving the Johnny Kilbane thing from Battery Park. I'm not so sure.
Whoa,
the people,
Jerry.
I'm not sure the Battery Park people will agree with that.
Yeah, I don't-
And then we have the Famine Memorial. I know there was talk about that also. But I mean, I'm not telling any secret here. So
Well,
at the
we-
same time, though,
Yeah.
that's all in discussion.
That's in discussion,
In
right?
discussion. We're
Yeah.
not saying that stuff will happen.
No, but could be new things as well,
Yeah,
new
random,
monuments,
right.
and there's been some archaeological work on that hillside,
Mm-hmm.
both back in the 1980s. There was some archaeological work done, and then this past summer they did some archaeological work so that they could know what was they were going to run into when they were working on stabilizing the hillside. And so there might be some pathways through some of the excavations of the foundations of the houses, try to give a little bit of a sense of what it would have been like to live and work there. Most of the people that lived there worked down on there was coal docks there, and a railroad line bringing coal from Youngstown and Mahoning Valley and Pennsylvania on into
You
Cleveland.
never know what you'll find, Margaret. Just like when the Michael Davitt group were over a few months ago and they found that house on Lawn Avenue.
Right,
That
right.
that was quite a find, wasn't it?
Yeah, they that group from the Davitt
Yeah.
group came during the Echo Cleveland Twinning events, which Irish Archives Society worked with the Mayo Society and the Echo Cleveland Twinning Committee to create a whole series of events. But this Michael Davitt group came from the small museum in Mayo. You've been there, Jerry. I think you took
Oh,
your
indeed
groups
I
there.
have,
Yeah,
yes.
and they had found a jar, a jam jar, full of letters and papers
That's
and
right.
rosters in an old ruined, house that they were going to rehab
That's
into
right.
a shed. Not an individual
Pat Chambers
person.
found
Pat
it.
Chambers found it, and it had Cleveland connections with a Chambers who had come here, John Chambers, was the brother of the founder of our Chambers Funeral Home, and he had come to some other relatives and lived on Lawn Avenue. and wrote a letter back to his friend in Ireland who was named Tom Mulcrone, and it was about sentiment of support for the struggle of towards independence and then the Civil War.
It's a great story.
Yeah, right. And
you know what we could do, Margaret? Let's propose moving that house on Avenue. We got to get to the owners, find out who the owner is. There's still people still living in it.
We need it. We need an old house to tell the story. We actually kind of do. You know, there's a museum in New York called the Tenement Museum, and they've taken over this old tenement building and rehabbed individual apartments for different nationalities. And something like that, I mean, would be, we really need, because it can't all be outdoors, I don't think, because we have like the weather, you know, and some of this stuff that came up in the archaeological digs, the plates, the bottles, the, you know, silverware, etc., that they found, we need to tell that story. We need to show.
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff too, but that's all coming
that's
up in
all
the future.
We've got to really think about it.
And there will be fundraising for it.
There will be, but not right away,
no.
Because we've got a lot of thinking and planning to do with how to take the material that we have and the information that we have and create a story.
But anyway, just let's get back to the archives again, because that is the organization that raises the money to keep the archives viable.
Right.
The event is taking place
May 16th, Thursday, May 16th, Windows on the River. We usually have a reception at 5:30, dinner at 6:30.
The food's good.
Awards. Yeah, the food is
nice
good.
Dinner. I like it.
Yes, it is nice dinner. They do a nice job there. Make a
and
beautiful looking room.
And the event is not too long-winded.
No, we try to move it along.
You're pretty good at keeping people in line. You know,
we try.
Some people like to go on for an hour.
Well, after some, you know, experiences, we've gotten better. Yeah, we get the hook. Right?
Yeah, okay. So it's a wonderful event. So I hope how can people get the tickets for it?
Well, we'll put it on. The tickets can be bought online, or I do a mailing every year, and you can send back by check, but it's not up online yet. But I put it the last couple of years on. I've gotten all newfangled, Jerry. I put it on Eventbrite and have an Eventbrite page for it, and a lot of people have been buying the tickets that way. Yeah.
And if you have the means, buy a table.
That's the best.
And you have a sponsorship book also. People can buy sponsorship. If you have the money, not everybody does have the money to do that.
No.
But that again is where you really make the money on these events.
For people who do fundraising, you know that you have to sell the tables, not just the individual tickets. But the individual tickets are always welcome, and we want you know, people to be there to witness these stories about Irish achievement in Cleveland.
Okay. You know, for generations, Chambers Funeral Home has been a part of the great history of Northeast Ohio. Providing meaningful funeral service project is going to be coming up. If you're driving along 25th Street just before you get to Detroit, say you're heading north on the right-hand side, you'll see all of the construction, and they're working on the hill that rolls down into the river.
Right, yeah, and they're going to try to stop it from literally rolling down in, and that's how this whole thing got started, because the hillside was eroding because it had been abandoned for a long time, and they are trying to stabilize that.
So, Margaret, the history, very important. A lot of people probably are historically connected to that somehow.
There could be, because there were a lot of Irish people living down there. It was kind of a famine era settlement. It got they started building houses there around in the 1850s and 1860s, and like I said, most of the people worked on the docks there. And we've done a lot of research in terms of property ownership, etc., and the census records and all that. But now I want to start to try and get some stories together. And if anybody is out there listening and thinks that their family might have lived on Irishtown Bend, that would be between Detroit and Columbus, on from West 25th Street down to the river. West River Road was the big street, Franklin Alley. There was a Hicks Street, which was West 24th, and Pearl, which was 25th Street. And there were like 1,000 people lived on that hillside, you know, on a regular basis, and all their families, etc.
Do you know, I have to introduce you to Ashley Herside. She's a writer. Yeah. And she has done a lot of research on that part of Cleveland because of the Mastersons, the Chambers, the Sweeneys. She has done incredible work on it. And every time she is supposed to come in here and talk about, she has a new book coming out, it's supposed to be out by St. Patrick's Day. Something happens, like 2 weeks ago she was supposed to be here and she broke her ankle.
Well,
So this,
I have met her at your tea and talked to her about, I think her possible Chambers ancestors might have come over on the Tuke immigration scheme, which was another one of my research focuses for a number of years. That's people who came in the 1883, 1884 on an assisted immigration scheme from County Mayo, around Ackle, Ballycroy, and Belmullet, all around Blacksod Bay.
I don't know what the new book is about. She was supposed to bring it here to the studio, and maybe we'll see it before St. Patrick's Day. It depends on how the ankle is performing, and she'll probably be in here. But she can be a great source of information also because of the research she has done. Anyway, that's great, Margaret. So we keep the information going, getting it back to you as much as we can.
It's sort of it's an odd little neighborhood that was kind of wedged into this hillside. And the people originally went to St. Pat's, but then, or St. Malachy's, depending on which edge of it, you know. But there was a church there that no longer exists and only existed for about 50 years, and it was called Annunciation. And it was founded, you know, our first bishop was French-speaking, and he had some French-speaking nuns and priests that came to help him organize his diocese, and he had some French-speaking priests that he wanted to give a parish to. So it was originally supposed to be a French-speaking parish, but there were not too many French speakers. So the people on Irishtown Bend Hillside started attending this Annunciation, and they had St. Patrick's Day programs every year. And I've been kind of researching what their programs, people who did the jigs and dancing exhibitions in their programs. So it was an Irish parish, but it was closed down in the early 1910s, so it hasn't been around for a while. It's kind of forgotten. St. Emmerich's Hungarian parish rose up in its place and took over because a lot of Hungarians started moving onto the hillside at that point because there was a sewing machine cabinet making factory that was nearby that was organized by a Hungarian gentleman named John Kuntz, and he brought a lot of Hungarians there. Now, little known story, the Kuntzes and the O'Neill, Leaseway Trucking O'Neills, intermarried, and two sisters married two brothers, or a sister and a brother married a sister and a brother. So William O'Neill, his parents were a Kuntz and an O'Neill, and so there's a little bit of...
Was that the Nook and O'Neill, the company? They were an offshoot of Leaseway?
It was Leaseway Trucking.
Yes, I remember that
well. The O'Neill, yeah, right. So, anyway, there's all kinds of little interconnections that I'm discovering, so it's interesting, it's fascinating. So,
yeah, I bet you could find out a lot about the Sullivan family. You know, the people, the RPM people that founded RPM. They have a lot of strong connections to Cleveland. Now, they're not Mayo people, they're Cork.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Irishtown Bend. It was not really a Mayo settlement. It was all kinds of people from different Cork, Kerry, Waterford, Monaghan. Those are all the places I'm...
Did you like that book that George Condon wrote about the Irish nicknames?
Oh, my father used to hate it because
Let me see what they say about the Lynches. But I was just looking
that's
here.
Why I don't want you to.
I just had a list of the names and said the Gallaghers were really prolific.
Yeah,
right. Now, I don't know if they were in that, but here's a few examples for our listeners. You've heard this before. Everybody has. There was Boo Gallagher, Corky Gallagher, Dead Arm Gallagher, Dimmy Gallagher, Docko Gallagher, Donuts Gallagher, Double-Breasted Gallagher, Fathead Gallagher, Holy Water Mike Gallagher, Leather Gallagher, Naylor Gallagher, and Becky Gallagher, and Patsy the Tank Gallagher, Saltbox Gallagher. Then there was Toots Gallagher, Worm Gallagher,
etc. Yes, yeah,
there's so many of them. Well, it's great.
So, Jerry,
so the
I
Lynches,
forgot.
are the Lynches in here?
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Let me look it up. Just JKL. Uh-oh. Let me see if I can find anything. Where did I
But
see?
the Gallagher, I'm Gallagher,
The Gallaghers.
three Gallaghers.
And I
lines
know
in my family.
Judge Sean Gallagher probably gets a kick out of that when he
Or
hears
not.
it. Well, let me see.
But anyway, Jerry, one thing I totally forgot is I have to say, if people do feel that their family were raised on and lived on Irishtown Bend, I would love to get in touch with you and see if you know anything about your family, maybe have some pictures. You know, our mayor of Brook Park, Tom Coyne, his family lived on West River Road. Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor's family lived on Franklin. Jim Salmon's family lived at the end of West River where it ran into Detroit, sort of at the outer edges. So anyway, I want you to get in touch with me if you can. My telephone number is 216-789-2105, or my email address, iaasadmin, A-D-M-I-N, iaasadmin@gmail.com. That's the initials for Irish American Archives Society, and then admin@gmail.com. Don't tell it.
I found the Lynches, but they're not too complimentary, the nicknames, so I'm not going to say them.
Yeah.
You'll kill me if
Yeah,
I do.
right.
All right, we'll do that. You got to get the book, George Condon's book. It's got the Irish. I don't know what the name of the book is. What's it called?
Gales of Laughter.
Yeah.
Remember?
Gales of Laughter.
Gales of
By
Laughter.
George,
Yes.
by George Condon.
Condon.
Oh, okay. All right. We want some music. Thanks, Margaret. Great having you with us. Once again, to get tickets for your event, the big event coming up, the Walks of Life.
Yeah, it'll be on Eventbrite soon, and I'll be announcing it via Facebook, email blast, etc.
Here's one of my